We're back on the campus of Wake Forest University. The second
all eyes cast on Wake Forest University.
Presidential debates, and this time they're calling it the Grapple in the Chapel.
Good evening. If the setting looks familiar, it is. It was the site of the Bush-Dukakis debate in 1988.
At Wake Forest, the site of the second of the three presidential debates. Tonight, a new format. The candidates will be seated at a table with moderator Jim Ware.
I tell you what, the overall environment at the debate has just been complete excitement at Wake Forest. It's something unparalleled.
Because it was just that excited anticipation of people being on campus, and some satellite trucks started to arrive and things started to get really busy, basically. And I think that when Spencer was closed down and they realized that this was a reality, this was going to happen, that's when students started to get excited. When they got their volunteer positions, they started to get excited because then they felt a part of the process.
Well, I have seen students doing everything from ushering to running errands to driving to working in the technical end of the debate. They're volunteering with every major organization represented here. And I believe for many students this is a life-forming event.
Here came these poles and wires and then trucks and trailers, and it looked like a giant trailer park. And then once everything was connected, it was almost, you couldn't hear the buzz, but it was like you could. Just wall-to-wall trailers, and then the satellites all aimed at the chapel. And we even commented that day when we were wandering around and waiting for the motorcades to come through, and we saw Mr. Gore's motorcade coming and everyone was watching. It was like watching some kind of a science fiction movie with all the satellites aimed at Wake Chapel, and you're waiting for some blast to come, it's just a big beam of light to strike in and do something to the campus, because it was transformed. And the chain link fence, was sort of sobering too. It was the first, what are they doing with all that chain link fence, and then, well, why can't we go through there? But I think what was fun is watching, especially that day, being there and watching everybody just merrily going on their way and going around what they need to go around and being all excited and knowing that people were there. The setting up of the tents that the candidates actually drove into was a real hoot for a lot of us to watch, because most people had not seen that kind of security, and watching a motorcade come in and then just disappear into a tent. You never saw the candidate, but you knew they got out.
I was standing outside and I was convinced I wasn't going to be able to get a shot, and he drove right in. His wife came first and I went nuts, and then as he came by and I took a picture. It was great. I was so excited.
Did he wave at you?
Yes, I swear he had eye contact with me. It was great.
Definitely saw you.
He definitely saw me.
Oh my God.
And then the coolest thing is I'm going to be a surrogate, which means I'm taking charge of Mindy Tucker, who's his press secretary.
The inside of the chapel, it wasn't Wake Chapel. It was unbelievable. There was a stage in the front. It looked like a theater instead. It was just this big red stage with stairs going up each side. It was a totally different place. You didn't have the natural light coming in from the windows because they covered the windows with black tarp to facilitate, media lighting. And the chandelier, I think, was gone. And if you turned around and looked up at the balcony, there were these 3 booths with chairs with media figures seated there, Walter Cronkite and all of the ABC, NBC, CBS people. So it was just, besides the seats, it wasn't Wake Chapel anymore.
The Benson Center just transformed, it seemed overnight, into a student center where there was lots of student activity, students studying in the lobbies, to all of a sudden tables and televisions and wires and computers and phone lines all over the building. And for a couple of days there didn't seem to be very much activity in the building, just a lot of hardware. But over the course of those 2 days people started filtering in, and by Monday it was just packed with people, with the media, with student volunteers, with a purpose. Being very engaged in what was happening, a lot of hustle and bustle, and that continued all the way until late Wednesday night. I think I left the Benson Center at about 1 o'clock in the morning on Thursday after the debate, and hustle and bustle everywhere. I remember walking down the stairs of the Benson Center and being awestruck at tablecloths in the food court. tablecloths and red carnations on top of the tables in the food court. There was also a ping pong table for entertainment and lines of buffet food and drinks everywhere, and just lots of people as well. It was a very festive environment, and I remember hearing a couple students ask if there was actually going to be an event in there.
One of the hot spots definitely was the media stage that was set up in front of Reynolds Hall. It was probably built up about 5 feet off the ground, this huge metal skeleton structure. It looked awful, really, until you put the people on it. And then there were cameras and lights and all these poles that were just sticking up with, I mean, grips and whatever is needed, microphones for all of these news media people, and there were constantly broadcasts going on. So someone up there talking, you know, listening to an earpiece and interacting, and, you know, camera folks bustling around, and then, you know, the famous people trying to look all professional. So, and it was busy all day. And the neat thing is there were students clumped around these stages all day long trying to get, you know, the glimpse of someone famous. And there were wires running from that stage into Reynolds, across the quad, you know, just everywhere. It was somewhat chaotic, but at the same time, if you wanted to see the action, that's where it was all day. And it was a perfect day to shoot Wake Forest campus because the sky was crystal clear. I mean, blue sky, the leaves are kind of changing on the trees right now.
And if you wear it today and they pick you, then you get like $1,500 or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure if anyone from the company's been here, but Deer and Trees in Networks, please pick me. I've been outside since 7 a.m. It's basically what I got.
Have you been on here really since 7 a.m.?
Yes. Look, I even had breakfast.
Wow. And how long you be willing to stay out here?
I figure they'll be done by 5 or 7 tonight, so I'll be out here until then.
With the building in the end.
Right there, or the building behind it too, is the whole media center. So
right, yeah.
I was sitting there enjoying my day since I've been sitting there for a couple hours now, about 5, and they came up and said, okay, you had a creative side and you win.
The day of, I think there was a lot of excitement because people were on campus, and I'd be standing around with a group, and I was standing on the quad, and I think it was Walter Cronkite walked by, and everybody was just like, oh, yeah, they just kind of followed him. They were like, do you know who that was? And I was kind of oblivious at that point. I said, no. They're like, oh, that was Walter Cronkite. I'm going to go see him. And so that was really exciting for them.
I was awestruck at the signs that were hanging from the residence halls. Wake Forest loves GW, or I'm a Gore fan. All these different signs where students were being very vocal about who they were supporting in the campaign. And traditionally, you don't see a lot of Wake Forest students engaged in political discourse and political advocacy.
We just got back from the Bush rally out in Greensboro Airport, and this is George Bush's signature on our signs that we got.
All right, how was the rally?
It was incredible.
It was really awesome. We were really close.
Mm-hmm.
It was neat. I mean, we got there early. I went with my family, and we got there early, and it was quiet. There weren't a lot of folks. They had the big screen and great sound, and it was mostly people watching the ball game and listening to music. And as it got closer and closer to the debate time, students started piling in. There were professors out there with us. There were neighbors that live here on campus, and it got tighter and tighter, and everybody was very focused on the event. And it was fun to look around and see all these people that had different views and different opinions and different backgrounds and different ages, all huddled together on our blankets because it was pretty chilly too, and eating. And it was like being at a big football game or something, but everyone was very focused on the event. It was fun to watch everybody cheer you when they came on and said, and here we are at Wake Forest, and the students got really excited, and so did the adults, and we were all excited about that. And then to see our own students stand up and introduce the event, see Dr. Hearn introduce the event, and be watching that together in an outdoor arena it was exciting.
I was able to observe the spin room, as many students were, after the debate in 401 Benson. And of course that was quite a transformation of a room as well. But what I was struck with was how many public figures were in that room. I counted 6 senators, I think close to 12 congressmen, 2 cabinet members, and 3 governors. I mean, it's rare outside of a political convention, perhaps, but in that intimate setting, that you would be able to rub elbows and encounter public figures like that, and be able to ask them one-on-one questions, which I assure you our students were not in any way embarrassed to ask.
Waiting to roll the quad. That's the whole game plan here. We're going to roll it in red, white, and blue streamers.
The students out on the quad, rolling the quad and screaming and jumping and yelling and running around just showed that it had been a fun event for them, that they were also probably somewhat excited that it was over, but there was just an enthusiasm and a sense of pride about what had gone on here. So that was really a special moment for me to walk out on the quad and see everybody taking part in that.
I think that one of the most wonderful things that the debate was able to bring to Wake Forest was to open up a dialogue opportunity between faculty, staff, and students to talk about issues that matter in the political race. I think that for some people that's traditionally a taboo topic, or a topic that they feel they don't share openly. They usually keep that to themselves. And I think having the debate here educated people about the issues and made people more passionate about their own opinions.
Well, I think it's great. I mean, it's the whole country is looking at Wake Forest here for not just a couple of hours during the debate, but for 24 hours. So it's great for the institution. My guess is that after 1988, that it did help you in terms of interest in the school and people want to come here. The setting is like something out of Hollywood. You know, you have Waite Chapel there with a great green in the foreground. All these attractive young students running around helping everybody, and the North Carolina weather has certainly been ideal.
I remember the comment of one student as he gazed around at the lighting above and the stage, and realized at that moment that the debate was something very special, but it was not about just Wake Forest. It was about a national dialogue. And he said, as he gazed about, I think I get it now.
For now, from Winston-Salem, I'm Jim Lara. Thank you and good night.
Good night.